right? So let's go ahead and get started here. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for July 1st, 2019. We have a new month on our hands, and we also have new highs here for the SPY, right? Opened up, gapped up. Market was optimistic about what transpired over the weekend. And so we got also a gap up in the Qs, about 1.9% on this gap. But they got sold from the open, right? Kind of not surprising because the pullback that we identified gapped up to the target. So gapped up to where resistance was, and people took some profits most likely. We saw that actually come in on Friday afternoon. A little bit of that buying came in right here at the end of the day. As we were talking about how this was setting up bullish. We were looking higher, right? And of course, the news could have gone either way, but it did seem like the path of least resistance was higher. Okay, so we talked about that on Friday afternoon. We got the gap up today, and then the gap up gave us a pullback. Okay, so for the most of the morning, actually for all of the morning and for some of the afternoon here, we're kind of just downtrending on the Qs here, working its way lower until we got this rally. And the rally is really useful going into tomorrow because we now have our reference point. We know where buyers stepped up, given the news, given the new circumstances, where they determined we had a good buying opportunity, where demand was. So that's going to be today's low now, okay, is what we're going to use going into tomorrow. So it would have been a little bit less clear if we just kept coming in, right? And then we could look at the area that was resistance before the gap up. But this is more useful here, more relevant, because we now know where buyers stepped up to get this pushed up, and we have now this hourly buy set up in the context of this hourly uptrend, right? So for a short period of time, we were moving into a downtrend, right? And then we saw that downtrend didn't get much follow through, broke, and then now we're back up higher here on the Qs and SPY as well. Okay, so we got another few minutes here. It looks like the Qs or the SPY is going to close out up 0.85, short of 1%. Qs up a little bit more, 1.29. Okay, all the semis were gapping up this morning. A lot of the same kind of gaps that we had. Okay, one thing that I do want to start doing for you guys is kind of just go over what the morning game plan, even if on a day like today, none of them really set up. Okay, so initially for me, what I was looking at was the Intel. Okay, Intel was gapping up along with the market. A lot of the semis, tech was gapping up. Intel was gapping up. I like this gap. I know the gap got sold, but I liked it bullish. I didn't have anything that I liked lower this morning. But this was gapping up. That was clearing resistance. Has a little bit more here to the left, but wanted to see if this day is going to continue this transition. Okay, and if we look at it right from the open, it didn't give any kind of setup, didn't really give anything to do with it. Just really started the selling right at the open there, right? After that 1 minute bar, which I don't play until a 1 minute bar is finished forming, just kept coming in, right, and making new lows. That's not the kind of thing I'm going to play. Okay, INTC, I also liked the AMD, and so I do also like the larger picture here on the AMD doing a weekly buy setup. I think it's not a bad swing kind of setup. Okay, I like that it was gapping up as well, and then same thing on the AMD, didn't really set up. Okay, and so then the AMD, you can see again never took out a 1 minute bar's high, and then just kind of came in. So that was kind of easy to ignore, right? And that was also just following the market. And then the kind of my last one that I was stalking was the LVS. I thought the gap was a little bit too big. That's why it was ranked behind those other two, gapping a little bit too far. And then once I saw the MLCO, which was showing a lot better of a setup in the morning here, we'll compare the two. Then I kind of gave up on the LVS, and it really came down to whether or not I wanted to play the MLCO or not, which I didn't, but it would have worked. So I did not end up playing the MLCO. I ended up going after something else, which we will go over here. You see it's already on the list here. The MLCO was a 1 minute breakout, okay, over these highs here. So once I saw the MLCO, which we didn't initially have on our list, but did come up, and I compared that with the way that the LVS was acting in the morning, right, which the LVS had to pull back instead, you can see the MLCO got a wide range green bar and was basing at the highs. Then I was like, okay, well, the LVS, same sector, but there's a lot more demand being shown here on the intraday on the MLCO plus the LVS. As I said, gap was too big, right? I think we talked about it last week. How far did this need to gap to? Only needed to gap to 20 to 50 there, right? So gapped a little bit too far. Not that excessive, enough that it was still a favorite, okay? So ended up kind of those three were being watched, and not any of them were really played. What was played today was the NPTN. Okay, we'll go over the NPTN numbers and the setup here. Okay, so last week we talked about double bottoms and double tops, right? We looked at the MU, the CAG. I'll bring the MU back up so we can kind of compare. So we got this double bottom, played it over this right here, the 490. That's 490, and this is where 475 came from. Okay, and targets were new highs here because currently at this was a 504. So once we got new highs, right, we took half. Really wanted to see 515. 515 was coming from the daily here. Okay, coming from the daily. This top of this bar here is 515. If we broke above, was going to be looking for more, 550. And then ended up, we only got that first target, got a few cents away from that second target, and then that ended up turning into a breakout failure and coming right back down. So the back half did not work on the NPTN. Okay, so we just got out of it as it came back down on the NPTN. So I just wanted to go over this setup again, this double bottom right here, which I talked about last week. I'd been seeing more of, so I wanted to be playing more of them, right? So here was the MU. You can see did the pullback, put in the double bottom there, and then higher for new highs or new intraday highs is what we're looking for on this one. So yeah, it's just the kind of thing that, you know, you do your homework, you do your review. If you missed a play, or, you know, if you played it and that's your best play of the day, then you want to keep doing what works until it doesn't. So that was the NPTN this morning on this double bottom here in the morning. Once it got this breakout failure, it really started to struggle to get going. So after that, we didn't really have anything else to do with it there on the NPTN. All right, so the markets are closed now. We can recap the numbers here. 0.88 on the SPY and 1.35 on the Qs. So nice gap up here. We'll be looking at the hourly pullback that we have now as our line in the sand. As long as this remains, we'll be bullish. If it gets taken out, then we'll switch to a neutral bias. Okay, weekly and monthly remain strong. We talked about this last week. Also, I know that last week was a red week, but still bullish on the larger time frames. Okay, and so we saw that we basically gapped up to where the target was, especially on the SPY here, up to the highs. So we'll see. If we break this, we'll switch to neutral. But for now, we're going to remain bullish and expect higher highs are going to be coming. Okay? All right. So I hope you did well today. If not, took it easy. Just know that this week also going to be a little bit of an abbreviated week with July 4th. Okay, so may not be the most active week this week, but just got another couple weeks until earnings season starts. So by then, you know, we'll be ready to go and be a part of the frenzy. All right. So I hope you did well today. If not, we'll be back at it tomorrow and we'll see what the market brings us. All right. Have a good evening.